time.
All right, we are live for a Wednesday edition of the Hangout, and excited to be back connected with the guys. We got Mr. Andre in the middle, Mr. Tom to my far left. How you guys doing, fellas?
Fantastic.
Great.
That's good, man. That's good. So, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dre.
No, doing great.
Doing great. That's good, man. Okay, so I guess relevant topics. You know, we're going to talk about some of the primary focuses in the mainstream news, and of course, share our 2 cents on it. And of course, the leading headline happens to be, or the leading political headline, which of course I believe is a diversion tactic, distraction. Tom, you got a little deferring opinion on that, so I'm curious to get that more light on that as well. But just to jump right into it, you know, Trump, newly charged, urges defunding U.S. Justice Department and the FBI a day after being in court. So, gentlemen, you know, once again, here we are now. We talked about this about 2 weeks ago, and I think it's finally come to fruition of him, you know, going through the judicial system for whatever this, you know, whatever the outcome is. But what are you guys thinking about this, man? Does it surprise you at all or no?
Andre, you go ahead.
Well, I'll let Tom do the bulk of this. I'm more disappointed than surprised. I'm like, it's like a slap of reality. Like, okay, we're really in this. Like, I'm just gonna give an analogy. When I was in college, I did a year at North Carolina Central University, and a friend of mine it was 3 guys, and it was 4 of us, and one of these guys got the rest of us into a fight. So the guys, my friend got hit in the face and then backs up to us and says, "Hey man, I don't want to fight." And then it was on me to say, "Hey man, we are in a fight. Like, it's too late. Like, I don't care what you want to do. Too late. We're fighting." So with Trump, when I seen him, this arraignment that is actually going through, this is a wake-up call to me. Like, all the hope is gone. Like, we are actually in this. It's happening. And it's not, Twitter, you know, when they did the Twitter files and, you know, divulged all this information, I thought that might get us off this freeway. But even with that, no one knows. Like, the people who know are the people here on your channel, us, alternative media space, but we're outnumbered by far, I think, by a lot of normies. And these normies are driving this car, and we're like in the back seat talking about get off this freeway. It's a cliff at the end, you know. So that's what I thought about Trump going to this arraignment. I have to agree with some people that said he should have never left Florida. But
really,
I don't know.
If he don't show up to New York, then what? Like, on some, like, how much worse would that make this whole situation where the media would jump on that saying that he's a fugitive, it's a warrant, and then they're gonna come down, you know? So it's like, you know, so he's playing along with it, and so by him playing along with it, it gives the media what they want. They can talk, and it gives him more mainstream attention, which he's been lacking for the last year or two because of the censorship, silencing. And it's so interesting that YouTube gave his channel back 2 weeks ago, and everybody's allowing him back everybody's allowing him back into the mainstream to, I guess, get ready for his campaign. And so how coincidental is that as well? So it's just like, okay, what's really going on here? But, you know, I'm suspicious of everything.
Yeah, okay. I think I might be able to address both these things. Okay, so yes, it is a distraction, but it's also the culmination of a lot of things. So when you're saying, why did they give him his YouTube channel back? Yes, he wants attention, but getting indicted and possibly facing prison time, I don't think that's a good way to do it. Like, I don't think these people are screwing around. He's never going to get a fair trial. That's like playing with a loaded weapon. Okay. But at the same time, there's this free-floating anxiety. Okay. I'm not going to say the word on YouTube because people were getting banned for it from a while ago. A guy wrote a book about it. But the powers that be need to focus that anxiety on an object, on a person, on some sort of totem to keep the population, you know, docile and thinking that they have free will and thinking that their life isn't terrible and thinking they're not an economic serf and thinking they're not, living in servitude to the Federal Reserve. They need to be able to focus this free-floating anxiety on a totem, and that's Donald Trump. Okay, so they indicted him. Now, do I think he wanted to be indicted? Not in a million years.
Mhm.
But this is the end result of this decaying system. Now, this is not new. This is not new in history. During the Bolshevik Revolution in Russia, I think it was 1917, there was huge economic inequality. Okay, there was the agricultural, what do you call it? Like the farmers, and then the Industrial Revolution hits. Then you have these cities that are more prosperous, more wealthy. So then the Bolsheviks and Lenin come in and say, "Oh, well, the answer to your problem is we need to redistribute the wealth." So the Bolsheviks take over. History, you can look back and you have the Soviet Union and communism. The French Revolution, the same thing. You had the aristocracy. There was an economic crisis. There was no food. So the Jacobins and Robespierre, who was a lawyer, came in and said, "I have the answer to your problems." Off with their head. You want to say let them eat cake? Off with their head. And he started what I think it was called the Week of Terror, the Campaign of Terror. All right. Then you have Weimar Germany, hyperinflation. All right. A certain little mustachioed young fella comes in, gets arrested, writes a book called Mein Kampf, makes a comment something along the lines of, "You might have arrested me, but I already have your children," because this toxic ideology had been spreading through the universities. He gets out, and we know what happened from there, World War II. But we also have in America the Roaring 20s, where there was just tons of wealth, tons of prosperity. Then we go into the Great Depression, right? And we have from there the progressive movement that was built. You got FDR from, right? FDR, was it FDR?
FDR,
Yeah, FDR. You get FDR from there, and then you get this whole government paying people to go to build work and build useless things that nobody actually needs, and you get the very first taste of American socialism. You get the progressive movement from that point. So just like in all of the other revolutions that I just mentioned, okay, it's the same result. Where in the other revolutions, they were a lot bloodier and it was a lot quicker. This is the outgrowth of the progressive movement that started in the 1920s, 1930s. And Donald Trump was there to stop it. And they're not playing games. They need to stop him because in this country right now, we're all indebted. We are all slaves to the Federal Reserve System, like we talked last time. We are all serfs at best. Okay. I have no problem with upward mobility. I am a capitalist. I'm an entrepreneur, but we're run by oligarchs. We're run by Elon Musk and Peter Thiel and Ken Griffin and these power players that matter more than the politicians, the central bankers like Jamie Dimon, who, by the way, today said we should start seizing private land and putting windmills on it because, that's what we do here in this country. So again, we have this free floating anxiety where everybody is getting poorer and poorer. Life's getting harder. Society's becoming unwound. And like Andre was saying before, this was all supposed to happen 4 years ago. There wasn't supposed to be this period of prosperity, then this sudden collapse. I believe it was supposed to be more gradual. So the powers that be focus everybody's attention on Donald Trump. So in that respect, it is a distraction, but they're doing it for a dual purpose: distract and to prevent Donald Trump from getting anywhere near power, because he could possibly do something to stop it, and they can't have that. We are way too far down this rabbit hole. The Federal Reserve, the national debt, the unfunded liabilities, it's impossible. The system mathematically is impossible to keep going. So they need to do something. Give them this little carrot, let the population focus on this, and make sure at the same time that this man does nothing to stop their power grab, because this is American Bolshevism. This is American Marxism. This is the takeover of this country. And the day that Donald Trump was arraigned, in my opinion, you might think it sounds hyperbolic, it was the death of the Republic. I mean, it's not the death of America, but it's the death of the Republic.
You're not being hyperbolic.
Go ahead, Dre.
Yeah, like when I said it was a slap in the face, I've been throwing around that that meme from Aliens when the dude was in the spaceship, like, game over, too, game over. Like, this is done. Because there's no way, if us three and the people in the chat realize that a fiat currency is born to die. There's no fiat currency that's ever survived, right? They all, as soon as you create it, you're going to eventually inflate it out of existence. So if I know that, it seemed to me like Trump would know that, or someone in his camp.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Right?
Go ahead.
And so here's my thing. Like, this is my, if I want to throw any doubt toward Trump, because I believe he loves America and all that stuff, but it just seems odd to me that, I don't know, man. It's something's missing. Something is missing because I see him as the shield protecting what I consider America's ideology. Like, individual freedom, individual responsibility, values of capitalism, merit. He represents all those things. And it seemed to me like I'm not advocating for this, but if he happened to catch a cold and stop being around, it seemed like the adversaries would have there's no one out there to stop this.
Yeah.
There's because even DeSantis, you get him in office, 95% of his donations come from 5 people or something I heard the other day.
Ken Griffin and Sequoia Capital.
He's in bed with, he has to do their bidding to a degree. So when Trump was arraigned, I saw it as, okay, it is a distraction. It's real. It's important. It is important. But what is it distracting us from? It's distracting us from the fact we're all about to get real poor. Real poor.
Now watch this.
Everybody.
Now, as from what you just mentioned about Trump knowing about the currency, yada yada. Just yesterday, I shared this video here, a quick little snippet of Trump. I'm assuming this is from.
And will soon no longer be the world standard.
That's last night.
Which will be our greatest defeat, frankly, in 200 years. There will be no defeat like that.
You guys hear it?
That will take us away from being
last night.
power.
Now
So
imagine
basically,
how. Go ahead. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
go ahead. Go get your thoughts on that.
I'm sorry. I'm just imagine how dangerous it is for the system to have a man. I don't care. Donald Trump is the most powerful man in the world as far as his ability to shape the narrative and get a message across. He's the only respected Western leader in the world. For him to say something like that is extremely powerful. And just like when he said at his rally in Waco, I am going to take down and decapitate the deep state. When normal people hear things like that, that's what scares the system. Like, whoa, you can't start telling people the dollar's about to collapse. That's a problem. And that's why they need to go get Trump.
So right now, go ahead.
I think we may be past the point of no return on that, because once all these countries get together and just say, you know what, we ain't dealing with the dollar no more. Like, what could Trump do at that point? Like, there will be a ramp up time where we got to get all this manufacturing back. We got to re-educate everybody. We got, so that they can get used to a different lifestyle. Like, once the dollar is no longer reserve currency, and Mike, this is your wheelhouse. And all those dollars start flooding back into America, and your milk costs $12, and on Tuesday, then it costs $24 on Friday. Once that's a period of pain that no American alive has ever thought they would see. And Trump even mentioned that. That's a defeat America has never experienced. Like, a standard of living this high based on this much credit due to everybody buying these debt-denominated notes crashing, I don't think that's ever, I can't imagine a situation where that's ever happened to this degree.
Right. Like, we're so far gone in the sense that I was driving and I'm looking at all these dealerships and I'm thinking, like, all this so-called growth is consumerism, on steroids for the last 40 plus years because of our position with the reserve currency. Imagine all that goes away to where we're no longer able to use the leverage that's given to us through debt at somebody else's expense in another country around the world to accommodate our own luxuries. Like, think about just, mortgages, car notes. I mean, just if all that goes away, then what would the quality of life be? And that's where you get in the second world, third world status where, traveling overseas, getting a chance to see what people live like when they have nothing but the bare necessities for living. That's a whole nother ballpark we know nothing about. So that's going to be a shock in of itself. But then again, Trump isn't innocent one bit in none of this because he added to all this chaos during his presidency. And so I like to show people this visual aid here just because he put in on the diminishing of our purchasing power under his reign. He was about, he didn't want Jerome Powell to raise rates. He wanted to lower rates, creating more easy credit, more easy this, more easy that, so that we had the greatest stock market in our history. Your 401ks, this, remember all that stuff. So he knows the game, and so he's benefiting from this as well. So that's where I'm like, this guy, he knows more. So all of a sudden now he's talking about our currency. What about the currency when you were president? You know what I'm saying? So anyway.
I'm before Tom jumps in and because I think I'm gonna say something Tom might say. I'm gonna try and defend Big Orange.
Okay.
So when he had the Fed printing all that money, the assumption was, behind closed door, we ain't paying this back. We ain't paying it back. Reason why we ain't paying it back? Because if you try and decouple from the dollar, we send democracy bombs, right? Gaddafi, Iraq, and everybody knew that. So Trump was strong enough to impose that threat. Like, Russia and China wouldn't get together under Trump to try and overthrow the dollar. It just wouldn't happen. But because he's not in office, everything he did it's really been magnified to, like, you will be able to turn back and say, well, this is a part of Trump. Trump is responsible for this as well. But what I believe is the administration that's in now could give a damn about America. And they want that one world government, right? And how do you do that? Well, getting rid of the dollar's dominance is one way, right? Breaking a country in two is another way, so you can get rid of the Constitution. So one half, a little small country, will have a First and Second Amendment, and then the other half won't have a First and Second Amendment, and the world won't deal with that part of America, right? Because you can't have what the World Economic Forum wants on their stated, like on their website. You can't have that with a country as strong as America with citizens with a First and Second Amendment. It can't happen. So they got to get rid of that. No one's going to get rid of their second. Even people on the left, they're not going to vote to get rid of the Second Amendment. They're not going to do that, right? They're going to throw up a billion different regulations, but no one's on the left is going to voluntarily give that right up. They may regulate the hell out of it. But so I think the people who know and been planning this know that. So they have to figure out a way to split us up. And I think arraigning Trump, right, hoping some of the Trump supporters do something stupid, to break us apart, or they get them in jail and, something happens to them in jail. Like, what would happen if he actually gets arrested and gets sentenced to 10 years in prison? Like, this country would go nuts. Right, but he put himself in that position by showing up to the arraignment that everybody says this isn't even a case, like, at all. Like, come on, man, you might as well try and get him on jaywalking other than this stuff. So he's putting himself in a position where he could possibly be that catalyst to split this country up by, having this dumb, Alvin Briggs or whatever his name is, try him in Manhattan, where there's no way he's going to get a fair trial.
Well, yeah, and Trump definitely added to the deficit. He definitely spent money, but And I'm not excusing him for that. Like the last COVID crap he passed was it was too much. Like it was already too much. But there's a big difference between him and former Vice President Joe Biden. One of these men did everything he did for the best intentions of our country, whether they were correct or incorrect. He loves the country. He's the only president ever to be poorer leaving office than going into it. That's factual. He didn't need to run. At this point right now, if he said, I'm not running anymore, I guarantee you they would drop the charges. It would be overnight. Whereas former Vice President Joe Biden and his very troubled son seem to have a lot of money coming in from the mayor of Moscow's wife, Ukrainian energy companies, the CCP. That's kind of weird, right? It seems to me like one man was doing something that he thought was right. And I don't know Trump's heart. Obviously, no one does. But I know that the 4 years he was president were economically the best 4 years of my life. And then you have former Vice President Joe Biden, who clearly everything he has done has been to the detriment of the nation and only to the benefit of China. So I don't know. At what point do we take Biden seriously when he says, I'm going to radically transform this nation? We're not going to have gas and oil anymore. I'm going to guarantee you that Trump won't run anymore. We're going to stop him by any manner that we can under the Constitution. There will no longer be a Nord Stream 2. What else? There's a whole bunch of these things. He just comes out and says it because he's old.
Yeah, everything he has promised has come to pass and has not been in our best interest, just because it all originated with the building back better. We need to all come together. He got us back in all those deals that Trump got us out of. And so he reversed everything, basically, that showed that he's for our country. So we all know he's a sellout. But here's the thing, like, I don't even really think he's in his, I don't even think the person we see on TV is actually the entity that we call a president, because you see the little video surfacing of him being led and guided and instructed. Here, stand on the X, Mr. President. Stand over here. And it's like, this dude's not in his right frame of mind in the first place. So he's literally just he's just a mummy. He's a talking head. Somebody's speaking through him. We know who they are, or we know what class of people they are. And so my question to you guys is, if and when, because it's not going to end peacefully with Trump. They're going to find something that will stick. It's going to be something that will probably make it so that he can't run, because this going to go into the presidential season for sure. And then what? Will people actually then be pissed? Will Trump supporters get up and get out and do something? And is that what they want to happen, so that they can declare a national emergency and we not have that presidential election? Like I mentioned, like I've been saying for quite some time now, like there's a high probability if shit hit the fan like it might, we ain't have no election. That's just
my two predictions are this way. Either A, Donald Trump was our last president of this country, or B, Donald Trump is the first new president of whatever the new republic we will form. We're in a fourth turning. You can't fight this stuff. It's collapsing. It's done. I am on board. We're not having this election. I before the midterm elections, I said, you watch, something crazy is going to happen. Not to you guys, to a family member. I said, something crazy is going to happen. And these midterms are going to be all wonky. Bam, the whole Russia-Ukraine thing happens. Not that it affected the midterms, but it set in a cascading event. So I believe Donald Trump, number 45, was the last president of the United States, because former Vice President Joe Biden, I'm not going to say this on YouTube, but you can get what I'm saying.
Right. I mean, actors and politicians, they speak for somebody else, right? You know, you got a director and somebody wrote a book. You hire some actors to act out what was in the book. Politicians, you got whoever's donating to their cause. They want you to say what they want you to say. And Trump was the exception. But like we were saying, 15 minutes ago, this is a combination of that progressive ideology. America's foundation, the foundation of this country, is individual rights and individual responsibility. Land of the free, home of the brave. And I wish someone would have, hindsight's 2020, but define what brave meant, because I think that's lost. Brave means you're up to the task of taking care of yourself and being responsible for yourself first, right? So, but now we got this ideology just started in the 20s with the Wilson administration, progressivism, and it really got pushed through in the 60s. And the chickens are coming home to roost right now, where you got all these young people, and you can see it in younger people. Like if you guys watch, I'm maybe steering us off topic a bit, but if you watch these YouTube channels where these dating sites and you got girls on there talking about, I know I got 3 kids by 3 different baby daddies, and I'm about 60, 70 pounds overweight. But I deserve a man to make at least $150,000 a year. And you just wonder, like, what are you smoking? Like, what are you talking about? But this is this delusional state, and it's similar. It comes from the same place, and I'm not being disrespectful. Hopefully, people won't take it that way. Mm-hmm. But if I'm 6'3" on Tuesday, 250, and I'm standing up using the bathroom, and then on Wednesday, I'm like, you know what? This ain't me. I want you all to
drink a Bud Light,
Andrea or something. Right. It's delusional. It's not rooted in like a foundation of reality. What it's rooted in is equal outcomes. That theory of the ideology of equal outcomes. Everything should be a certain way. And that's how they've got us to this point. Well, if you out there hoeing, but if you're out there hoeing and you get pregnant, well, you shouldn't have to rely on this dude who got you pregnant. The government gonna do that for you. That creates a whole different type of mindset in the 60s, 70s than it would have been in the 30s, right? Because if you knocked up some chick in the 30s, guess what? That's your granddaddy or great grandfather right now. Because you have her, right? You taking care of those responsibilities. But now everything should be this utopia, and we should get everything. So that's why we're printing all this money, Ukraine Russia shouldn't want to defend Russian people in Dubai. They should be nice over there. And what we should do is just send a whole bunch of money over there. You can do that now because America's been infested with this cancer called equal outcomes. And I'm going to shut up.
Interesting. So watch this. So while we were talking about currency and everything like that between, I wanted to just share this about, President Trump's own personal holdings is in real estate around the world. And it's good to say his vault is probably loaded with that yellow barbarous relic that most of the people don't really, other than the people tuned in here, don't really know about or realize the importance of. And there's been many statements of him talking about the importance of gold. And then, of course, what a coincidence that, gold happened to be pretty much at its all-time high as the fiat version of the Federal Reserve note goes out of style. And so it's like, okay, so everybody kind of know where to be positioned at in the financial sense. But here's a question Debt and Regret put out there, and I want to get you guys' thoughts on it. It says, if the credit collapse or inflation gets out of hand, will all the people that are gold holders become hunted like the movie The Hunger Games?
Now,
I lost my mind in a boating accident.
Yeah. I would just recommend everybody not talk too much about what you have on the internet, because I see some people do that. I'm like, you must have a lot of dogs and a big fence or something. Like, just be careful, I guess. But I would think so. Yeah. Like, I was actually thinking about this today. I think I read one of your guys' DMs in Twitter. And or I was listening to something at work, and it's like, okay, let's say we go through like this deflationary, inflationary kind of weird thing that it seems like is happening right now, and like housing prices collapse, right? And then you say, okay, I have X amount of silver, X amount of gold, and I want to go buy this house. You better have some means of protecting yourself and maybe a couple buddies with you, because either they're going to sell you the house and then follow you back home, back to wherever you came from, or they're just going to rob you on site. So there is that weird, like Mad Max, like Imagination Land right now. It's going to be weird. It's going to be really weird. It's going to be the people with guns and ammunition that they are going to be the ones that are going to be able to own gold. The other people are going to get hunted, I think.
Right. Yeah. I agree. And that's the thing. I'm thinking of I have the mindset that if we go through the worst scenario that we've all talked about, Mad Max type stuff, where, you know, credit fees freezes up, bank accounts are locked, and then that's the whole issuance and the narrative for the CBDC, all stuff like that. Commerce is going to come to a halt just because if people can't swipe cards, there's going to be no transacting. And so the chance of you taking a monster box over on the east side trying to buy an apartment building downtown is not going to be too likely because you may not have gas and security is going to be an issue. But then again, the receiving end of that person, you can't trust them. And will they actually have ownership rights still to that property? Because there's going to be issues on who owns what, because eminent domain coming in, government going to start seizing stuff. And so it'll be completely unthinkable as to how you'll be able to exist with your metals on a massive scale to take advantage of opportunities. Like when I talk about gold and silver, I'm more so like having small fractional for bartering so that you can like pay for a can of peas or stuff like that. Like I'm not talking about going out and buying skyscrapers type transactions, because you can't trust who's going to be the lawyers, the contract people to decide, negotiate, and you're going to need a team of people. So that type of stuff is going to be hard to do. And that's why it's not going to be too likely a lot of average people will be able to do that.
Should it be worst case scenario in what you're saying? I think that would be more like Bolshevik Russia, when the industrial cities, the Bolsheviks came in after they took over the czars, and they just walked into the factories and said, hey, we're your boss now. And everybody just kept working because they had guns. Nobody else had guns. And that was it. And it's going to really come down to like who's organized, who has weaponry, and who's able to like it's going to also be weird too. And like, again, not to trash anybody from Detroit, but just like Detroit gangs and Chicago gangs, LA gangs, New York gangs, like they have a considerable amount of firepower, influence, and like people. So it's going to get insanely chaotic, insanely quickly. And I kind of am expecting that's what they want to do.
Right. Much chaos as possible. And then you factor in all the Mexican cartels that are here permanently. Like they're going to be trying to claim territory, and they, you know what I'm saying? Like it will be a complete crap show, but it's part of what they want, so that it, you know, we can't say that it's their fault. It's the government's fault. Like we're going to blame the cartel, the patriots, the Trumpers, I mean, anybody you name it. Anyway, so here's another comment. It says, I wonder why Trump pardoned Lil Wayne and Kodak Black, but not Edward Snowden and Julian Assange.
Is that true?
I think Lil Wayne for sure, and Kodak Black. I know Kodak Black was facing charges, I think, for murder or something like that, and got off, or I don't know the extent of it, but I know for sure Edward Snowden and Julian Assange. But I'll look it up. But let me see.
If Donald Trump pardoned Lil Wayne,
I think it's for the same the reasoning is from the same place where he, you know, under the Trump administration, we kept printing money. You know what I mean? Like you get this advice from the advisors in there saying, look, man, people need money. Like just keep the interest rates low so people can buy houses. No one is going to, nobody in their right mind is going to challenge the dollar. So it'll be okay, blah, blah, blah. And with Ed Snowden and them, they were like, look, don't pardon this guy. He's taking the First Amendment too literal. He could be dangerous to all the secrets we got. And meanwhile, I believe Trump just believed that. But now, I think if he gets back in office, you might see Julian Assange in the White House. Like, because I think now he knows. He
knew all along, man. This guy's not dumb. He has a team. Mind you, the people that they positioned around him that he went along with for the first 4 years were all puppets, Fauci's and all the people that you can't trust. They were lifelong politicians that had been a part of corruption for day one. He knew that. He was probably not able to get his own people in there just because it would disrupt his plan. If he had a plan, that whole, you know, trust that particular alphabet, or like literally he is a part of all this, and that whole deep state narrative is a part of his act. He's an actor too. So let's not forget that.
I will say,
I know Tom looked a little mad there.
No, because like I truly understand your point of view. Like I really do, and I understand because other people say the same similar thing. But I think we're doing a disservice to this conversation as a whole to focus on Trump. This is way bigger than that now. This is
Right,
the office of the presidency. This is the judicial system. This is the entire legal system, our currency. Everything that has happened that Trump predicted, that Trump maybe helped intentionally or unintentionally,
Mhm.
all of these things that are happening now have been done intentionally by former Vice President Biden and the stooges he has around them who have sold us out to the communist Chinese. And that's not even up for debate. In my honest opinion, these people believe that America is not exceptional. It is not redeemable. So they will sell it out to the highest bidder, and they're going to be traitors to their nation and say, we will do whatever we can to undermine this nation so that when you come in and scoop it up, you don't kill us along with the rest of the people who love this country. I think, again, Trump is the conclusion. He was a populist figure. He's a populist leader. Whatever we all might think about him personally or whatever, the facts are this. He lost money running for presidency. He does not need to do this. He never needed to do this. He clearly loves this country, and the deep state hates him. These
Who is the
people,
deep state? So he uses that narrative, but he's never not once dropped any clues as to who they are, other than they're people who run the system. So he's capable of going a lot deeper if he wanted to.
I think the better term, deep state's kind of a cutesy way of saying it. I think that the better term is the permanent bureaucracy, the staffers in Congress, the people that are hired at the 3-letter agencies that aren't appointed, that are there after every appointed NIH guy or CIA guy come and go. These people are always there. They're always driving the agenda. They work behind the scenes. Nobody knows their names. And their only concern is preserving their own power and their own influence. So I think that would be the more honest way to put it would be the permanent bureaucracy that is America. These positions. I mean, look, America is the biggest employer on the planet. The United States government is. So you have a lot of entrenched powers and interests that are not willing to give it up because a certain orange man decides he wants to fire half of them. They're going to do whatever they can, pull whatever strings they can, lie, cheat, steal. It doesn't matter. So I think the permanent bureaucracy is the better way to put it. And I think it is I think it's honest to say that the uniparty, like the rhinos and the liberals and everybody who's not a populist like AOC left or, Donald Trump right, they all hate him. They want him gone because he's screwing up the picnic where they pretend that they're arguing when really they're all hanging out together and they're all part of the same system. They don't like him for that. The bureaucracy hates him because he wants to get rid of them and strip them of their power, strip them of their money, strip them of their cushy jobs and their appointments to the Italian ambassador and whatever the frig else. And that's why they hate him. So whether it's self-serving or whatever, Donald Trump is definitely a target, but he's not the bigger picture here. This is progressivism. This is American Bolshevism. This is the internal coup that is happening right now in front of our eyes. The monetary coup, the fiscal coup, the legal coup. They are destroying our entire legal system, our entire criminal justice system, our financial system. The Federal Reserve is out of control. This system is dead. The republic is dead. It's not a happy thing to say, but April 4th, 2023, the republic is dead. Because even if you say we're dropping these charges against Trump, all of the executive privileges that have been waived, their attorney-client privileges that have been waived, all of these things that these progressive judges and DAs are doing that are so unconstitutional, you can't unring that bell. We're just in such uncharted territories now that it's very much you show me the man and I'll find the crime.
Yeah, I always say if you
go ahead,
follow the money. Most people are motivated by two things: sex and money. And you can't have sex with everybody, but you can have as much money as you want. So I'm always going back to that central bank digital currency and what effect that will have, because they're going to sell us on the intent, right? Oh, you have less crime, you can't do shady transactions. Oh, that will be a benefit, but to get us into that, I think, like Mike was saying, there's going to be some catastrophic event like that. The computer
cyber
crash, cyber attack. There was a name for that. What was that? The World Economic Forum did, the Polygon or something?
Cyber Polygon.
Cyber Polygon. That's cyber Polygon is an exercise, but the cyber pandemic is what it's referred to.
I mean, they did a practice run on that on the internet. Like, look, we're gonna get together, show you what might happen, right? I'm like, this is blazing there telling you this. But hey, most people still watching CNN. So you need an event like that where the internet is just gone or crashes and you can't do any financial transactions, or in combination with printing up all this money in a war over in Ukraine and giving out a whole bunch of reparations. That those three things I can see leads to a new world order, so to speak, because you issuing a new currency, you got a country divided. Can you imagine? But seriously, a serious question. Could you imagine if I come on this show one week and I'm like, hey, y'all, I just got a check for $400,000. Why? Because I'm black in California. Like, that would just I would be a target, I would assume, and I wouldn't blame people, right? I wouldn't blame people. So everything leads toward division. I don't see anything out there that doesn't. And like I said, I was hoping Twitter being able to show the world how the government was in bed with all these tech companies, keeping you from seeing the truth and only seeing what's on the left. That didn't seem to work. We're still dumping money in this stupid war, and no one is talking about the Federal Reserve. To me, that's the linchpin. If I can hear somebody other than Ron Paul or Rand Paul talk about, hey, we need to at least reconsider our relationship with the Federal Reserve, because there's no evidence that they've ever been successful at anything other than inflation. But nobody's talking about that. Nobody. I haven't heard one politician giving a legitimate speech or sentence about how the Federal Reserve affects everybody in this nation.
Yeah, and speaking of which, here's on a little side note about a couple of politicians that's jumping on board with something. So here's something that came out, or more public as of this week. 3 congressmen introduced gold standard bill to stabilize the dollar's value. And so we got Alex Mooney, who's from West Virginia. He's very vocal on putting forth lots of bills about go, 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 go. Never gets any traction. Representative Big from Arizona and Gosar from Arizona introduced HR 2435, the Gold Standard Restoration Act. And so it sounds good, but then again, I do believe because it's too late, wouldn't get no traction. None of their constituents are going to vote for it or even try to push it or sign off on it, just because they can't do that. But there are some people out there who are trying to. But at this point in the game, I think it's too late, because they're not trying to go backwards to real tangible things. They want to go forward to digital illusions of whatever. And so watch this. I want to get your guys' thoughts on this. Does this matter at all? Is this something that will be of interest, or is this just a little fly-by-night presidential election by Robert F. Kennedy Jr. running for president? So, Tom, you brought this to my attention. What are you thinking?
I think I like RFK. He's a little more liberal than my politics line up with. I'm not I like him. He seems to be his heart in the right place. Much like Trump, he seems to really care about this country. I'm just happy he's running as a Democrat and not an independent, and doesn't pull a what's his name that got Clinton elected, Ross Perot. I'm just happy he's not doing the Ross Perot grenading the system and screwing the election up thing. To be honest, he's the best Democrat I could think of that I wouldn't mind living under their rule, to be honest. But real quick, I want to ask you a question, Mike, before we shift off that gold thing. I have 2 questions, actually. One, let's say that they pass this the gold backing act from Gosar and Mooney. Would it not just trigger every country holding US dollars to call in the gold and then drain us and bankrupt us immediately? And then B, on that same idea of a gold backed currency, I don't know if it was you or Mario or somebody was talking about the BRICS doing a gold back currency. Why does everybody assume that's going to be the case? Because at no time in history that I'm aware of outside the founding of this nation has a person taken power and then devolved their power. If a country or a group of countries is going to take power as the world reserve currency, why would they hamstring themselves by pegging it to gold so they can't print more and do exactly what we're doing right now? So I just want to get your thoughts on that before we moved on.
Good point. So as far as the tokenization of gold being leveraged, being utilized on the blockchain, that's something that's being discussed out of Russia. So whatever the payment network system will be released at some point in the future, I think it's going to start off by them using currencies amongst themselves, their own currencies. But then again, most nations don't trust, a Nigerian currency. Who wants that? So like I know Iran and Russia, they are doing currency swaps, but then again, they have certain tiers as to how much they'll be willing to accept. And then beyond that, they want oil. So we'll do business with you, but if you give us oil, we'll give you whatever you need here. So there's going to be something attached to that. So it may not be gold, maybe oil or whatever natural resources that country specializes in, copper, oil, whatever. That's something they can then also leverage, tokenize it, and do some type of percentage exchange or whatever on top of currency, just so there's some type of trust. So I don't think there's going to be a gold backed currency that will be utilized primarily, just because that does put restrictions on them, and not every country got enough gold to really be able to bring enough to the table for business sake. So I just think that to shake up this transfer of wealth, I think gold will be brought forth. But then again, they're not going to use it amongst themselves. You know what I'm saying? I think it's just more so take powers out the West. And with this act, I didn't really read into it in depth, but I don't think they'll be able to back up all those fiat Federal Reserve ledger notes as well as paper notes with gold, because I think the question will be what's in Fort Knox. And I'm of suspicion that there's nothing really there to back it up. So there'll have to be a revaluation of whatever we do have, and therefore gold around the world will go through the moon. And I don't think the U.S. want that, because that shines light on gold. They don't want that.
Well, no, the bill does say that they want accurate transactions of every transfer, denied transfer, everything that's happened since 1971. They need an exact counting of how much gold that they have, how much gold they've borrowed, bought, leased, sold, everything. And then 24 months from that point, they want to use that amount of gold that we have to then value the dollar based on that amount of gold. And to me, that sounds like a terrible idea.
Right. That's not going to fly one bit, because we don't even know how many units of currency are in existence. Nevertheless, to be able to track and trace and come up with a digit number to revalue gold. And so if they were to try something like that, I remember Jim Sinclair and Bob Holter, they talk about, $100,000 gold, $90,000 gold. Those are some figures that would just be the start, because we don't know how many Federal Reserve notes in existence, really. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, it'll be a crap show. It'll be a crap show.
This is outside of my wheelhouse for sure, but I often wonder if, the BRICS nations saying, hey, we're going to have this digital currency backed by certain commodities, gold, silver, wheat, oil, whatever. I think on a grand scheme of things, like for a marketing ploy, wouldn't you want to have your currency, if you're trading currencies, wouldn't you want the currency that's backed by something other than nothing, right? I mean, our currency right now is backed by the full faith and credit of the United States government, which basically just means we got a lot of bombs, and you better take care. That's basically what it means. So if Russia and China comes up and says, hey, this isn't backed by gold, but it's backed by copper. I mean, it's better than the nothing that the U.S. dollar is backed by. So it could be a marketing thing. And I also heard that whoever has this technology first is over. It's like the nuclear weapon, like that, the blockchain technology and your currency together, you'll have an unfair advantage in the marketplace. So it's almost like the United States has no choice but to have a central bank digital currency if other countries have it. So my issue is, okay, if it's a necessity, it's a necessity. My huge problem is no one's talking about individual rights or privacy.
Right. And that's going to be a problem because that's not something that's included. It doesn't come built into their system
Yeah.
by
Russia don't
default.
care about your rights or privacy. China don't care about that, but
No.
we should.
Right.
And you know, the other thing too, like I watch and like listen to and read a lot of geopolitics, and whenever whoever is writing it or speaking about it, when they're talking about China, they refer to it as China or Xi. When they're talking about Russia, it's Russia or Putin. Or when they're talking about South Africa as a bloc, as a country. But when they speak about the United States, it's very different. They understand that the people still have to agree to these things, whereas in these other countries, these BRICS countries, whether like whatever like facade of democracy that they might have, it's still a unilateral decision by whoever's at the top or the Duma along with Putin. They like, while they're trying to present these other nations as somehow like calling Putin and Xi president, somehow present them as somehow democratic countries that don't oppress their people, and almost giving them too much grace, that you still hear about them as these monolithic entities. And that's what scares me the most about the BRICS thing, because I hear so many people referring to it as the fair world order, the multipolar world order. But I'm sorry, as corrupt and broken and dead as our republic is, I can still own a gun. I can still buy some land. I can drop out and no one's going to bother me, at least for a while. But that's not an option in these other places. And they are oppressive regimes. And when they say a fair world order, multipolar world order, it means for their elites, their oligarchs, their ruling class, and it has no consideration of the people. That's the scariest thing about BRICS to me, because I don't think people are making that connection when they say, oh, India has 1.4 billion people and China has 1.4 billion people. You could just replace people with slaves because it doesn't matter. It's the same exact thing. They have no ability to represent what they want or make any meaningful change in the way the system works. Well, here it's going quick anyway here.
I do agree. And that's where, like, you know, the BRICS, of course, as you mentioned, they're not innocent out of this. This is just from a monetary standpoint, it's just a changing of the guards from one out with the old into the new, whatever that new might be. But then again, like all those people there, like, I'd assume to join that union is just not, you're not coming into it for the monetary sake. They also have to sacrifice some of the political structure as well, because they're signing up to join this union. Therefore, it comes with some strings attached, I'm sure, because, you know, I'm sure they're going to protect one another against the West. Therefore, you got to forfeit some rights as well if we're going to protect you along the way. So they're signing up for something. And I would be surprised if this advances, they come up with some type of BRICS constitution or something of that magnitude where it's like binding law amongst all those countries to where, you know, like, that's it. That's all she wrote. You signing up your life right there. So,
and
that's
there
definitely
you get the New World Order. There you get the Great Reset. And I feel like Andre just brought up the Great Reset. I think we are thinking about this from the wrong side of the coin. Maybe the Great Reset was always an eastward thing. Maybe it was always Eastern based. And maybe this war in Ukraine isn't actually happening because I haven't seen one freaking video of a gunfight ever. They have whole movies of Vietnam war footage. And this sounds hyperbolic. And the more I think about this, I don't know if you guys read that New York Times article, Malcolm Nance from MSNBC, this guy Vasquez, all these Foreign Legion guys who went over there. They were posting all these pictures and videos of blown up tanks. Come to find out, they weren't even on the front lines, never fought anybody. They were just taking pictures of blown out tanks. And they've been getting, all of these people have been getting caught staging all these photos and videos. So if all of the things I've seen right now are staged, where's the fighting at? Could this all just be some grand conspiracy? I'm only halfway joking about this, but it's
when you got all the politicians popping over there, the actors popping up over there, like in a war zone. Like, who does photo ops and who takes photos and go, you know, shooting, you know, cover spreads for movies and all types of crap in a war zone. So it's all suspect, man.
Come on, Mike. Joe Biden wouldn't go to Highland Park, Michigan. But he gonna go to a war zone. Like, come on, man. Like, it's a legitimate question. Like, Vietnam, you got all these movies with reel to reel. You got a guy in there filming like this. You got all these cameras all over the world, especially in Ukraine, and no one is seeing them. You will see. I seen some bombs dropping the other day. I ain't gonna lie about that. but you don't see what you would think you would see: carnage and all this, bullets flying here and there. There's no reporters there, but I guess Lewinsky, not Lewinsky, the president of Ukraine, he kicked all the journalists out.
Yeah.
So, yes, go ahead.
Now,
sorry.
But think about this. Even the remember the initial footage that came out once the health situation struck in March, when it hit the airways here, we saw people passing out all over the world, people walking down the street just dropping, and
Boom.
It was real dramatic and scary, like a horror film for that 2 or 3 week period. During that 15-minute stay, 15-day stay in your house, don't do nothing unless you're labeled as what was it called? Labeled as important, or what was that? Essential. Unless you're an essential worker. And so that right there is stuck. People believed it and they bought it, and that was all she wrote. Same thing with the Ukraine. We saw some initial footage, yada, yada, yada. But now, was it $500 billion later, and, a year later, people moved on, but they're still sending billions.
What, and the thing that gets me the most. Go ahead.
Finland. Wasn't there something in the news about Finland?
Oh yeah, they lost their PM, and then they got voted into NATO all in like the same day.
What didn't Russia say we're sending nukes if Finland joins NATO?
Oh yeah, as of right now,
criteria.
Yeah, as of right now, Putin sent Lukashenko and Belarus Iskander missiles. They were already there. The planes were already there. And as of the day before yesterday, they're saying that they have tactical nuclear weapons in country in Belarus. But again, for what reason? Oh, and then the other thing today, Zelensky went over to Poland, to speak with Duda. And he came out with this very weird statement. He said that there are no borders between Poland and Ukraine, none economic, politically, the citizen, no borders between Poland and Ukraine. Historically, the Polish-Lithuanian Empire was that part of Ukraine east of the Dnieper River. West of the Dnieper River is the Donbass that the Russia's taking back. So it's very weird to me. Again, why is Zelensky basically just ceding the other half of his country to Poland out of nowhere today? And then he also came out with a statement saying, we're not gonna contest Crimea. Russia can have it. Well, I mean, like Russia already has it, but like, where is this all coming from? It seems like they're trying to wind it down and just like, okay, we're gonna split Ukraine up now. We're done with this.
So is this like from Zelensky, or you think he's getting instructions from the West to dial things down? Yeah. We're about to get ready to divert something. We got something else coming.
Absolutely. There's this phone call of Victoria Nuland with the American ambassador back in 2014. And they were like, I think it was Poroshenko. He's like, Poroshenko, he's going to be the new president. Get him to do these press hits. Get them to talk to this people. We're going to hold an election. He's going to be the new guy. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, if you haven't seen it, that Oliver Stone documentary about Russia is really good. What was
Ukraine
the documentary about? Was it about
Ukraine on Fire?
Was it about it? It was called Train of Fire?
No, Ukraine on Fire. It was about the Maidan coup.
Ukraine on Fire. Yeah. Now, if you can find it, it's really good documentary. Really good documentary.
Interesting. Well, gentlemen, we're approaching our hour point, man. As always, we covered a lot, and it just at the end of the day, and that's where it's like, as much as we are paying attention to all these events unfold, we have our thoughts and opinions about it, but yet we still don't know. We're just going along for the show in a sense, but it's like, I wish there was a way to get truth out. Then again, like, what is truth at this current time frame when everything's being presented to us? We're just interpreting it and trying to filter through it to see what sticks and what doesn't. So it's like, in the meantime, we still got to enjoy our lives and live life and do the best we can to make a difference. So anyway, man, but anyway, Dre, you got a book for us, man? You didn't come prepared. I ain't that about something.
I didn't even think of it, but I did. Did I talk about is it cultural Marxism? No. It's by
you gave us a Marxism one.
I did that before, huh?
Yeah.
Let me just Audible right quick. Oh, I'm reading Woke Inc.
What you reading?
Woke Inc., which is pretty good. By
Ramaswamy.
Yeah, it's pretty good so
Woke
far. I mean,
Inc.
yeah, Woke Inc. Vivek Ramaswamy,
Tom, did you read that?
presidential candidate.
I
Yeah.
started listening to it on Audible, but I haven't finished it.
Yeah, this
Okay,
goes into what he ties a lot of things. This woke stuff is just progressivism with a different, it's just rebranding. This I never thought it just hit me like a ton of bricks the other day. This equal outcomes ideology is just destroyed this country. It is literally destroyed the fabric of what America is. Equal outcome. Because without that ideology, well, you don't have the welfare state. You don't have like these inner cities that are just bombed down and depleted like Detroit, Chicago, because you would still have two-parent households as the norm. Merit would still be a thing, right?
Yeah.
You have to earn your keep, which would force people to look at, in my opinion, their money supply, like their currency, right? If you couldn't decouple from gold as easily as Nixon did, right? If the American populace was like, no, this isn't American. Like, this isn't what America is about. You can't just print money just to give it out to people. Yeah, we got charities and stuff like that, but this isn't what America is about. It's about meritocracy, equal opportunity, not equal outcome. But I just don't think we saw it because the people who implemented had the long game. They were thinking the long game. Like, you know, we may not live to see this outcome, but we're going to plant this seed and we may not be able to sit under its shade, but maybe our children's children will. And I think all we're doing right now, especially on the right, is reacting to what has been implemented by the left. And we that's why I think, and Tom, I agree with you. The Republic is dead. I think they won. We just we are the rebellion now. So we gotta, whatever this new thing is going to be on the other side of this hill, we got to look forward to that, I guess, because I don't think we can go backwards.
Interesting. Tom, leave us some good words, my friend. What do you keep an eye on?
Well, basically, I'm just trying to spend more time reading the Bible, and also I'm, again, like Andrea said, I'm really, really putting a lot of energy in the last few days into thinking of an alternative and starting that conversation, because this has been a long time coming. Like, and if for a book recommendation, Alex Jones, The Great Reset and the World for the World, it walks through the 1969 Summer of Love, 1971 Trilateral Commission, the gold standard, and then all the way up until now and everything that happened. And we're at the same time. We had this cultural revolution in 1969. We're having a cultural revolution right now, and we're going to go into another monetary reset. And I've been trying to think very, very hard as to a way. We got to pick up the pieces. We have to be the ones that pick up the pieces, not the pink-haired Marxists, not the trans Kool-Aid-haired freaks. We need to be the ones that do it. We have to get there first. We have to get to the rubble first to start rebuilding it.
All right, gentlemen. We have the Broke Capitalists in the middle. Links in the description. Go check them out. And we got the Coming Conflict as well. Check them out. Links in the description. Do a good job of keeping guys up to date and sharing their perspective on things. So as always, guys, it's great to hang out with you and get your thoughts. You know, not enough. We didn't have enough laughs today, but we had some. So I appreciate that. And everybody, be blessed, be safe, enjoy the rest of your day and week. And of course, there's going to be a lot of distractions, but of course, focus on what you control. Stay prayed up, get your weight up, and enjoy life while you still got it. Because unfortunately, a lot of people aren't waking up these days. A lot more people are not waking up these days than they anticipated. So, all right, everybody, be blessed, be safe. See you guys later. Peace.
Good night.